Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We're joined by a very special guest today, Allegra Demersion. She is the Client Success Director at the Abbey Agency, which represents a variety of clients across the country and many here in Nevada and in Las Vegas. Allegra, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So to get started, why don't you walk us through what your college experience was like, what you thought you'd maybe do with your career, and how that panned out?
Yeah, thank you. I came into college actually undeclared. I really didn't know where I wanted to focus. I knew a lot of my interests and strengths were in writing and communication. But I spent those first couple of years trying a lot of 100-level classes, from psychology to things more in the business side of the world, and really kind of just started naturally gravitating towards what I was good at, what I enjoyed, and what I wanted to do, which was in the journalism school. I went to the University of Nevada, Reno, and so everything is housed under the journalism school, but I ended up under our track for strategic communications. So kind of being able to specialize in advertising, public relations, and social media.
Awesome. So you kind of got exposed to all different sorts of things in college. So walk us through what was your first job out of college and any jobs that you had before you were in this current role.
Yeah, my first internship out of college was the Abbey Agency where I currently work. I started as an intern and really that internship started around a special event that they were producing, but ultimately I kind of got pulled into the social media world, then worked in social media, ended up over a couple of years leading that department, and then over a few more years became a brand manager, just kind of naturally grew into a tourism role, which I can talk more about how all of that came to be. But from there, I left the agency back in 2019 and did a few other things. I worked as an internal marketing director for a B2B technology company, led them through a rebrand, a website overhaul. And then I also worked at the state of Nevada Department of Education as public information officer for a year. So got some interesting public and private experience through that period. It came back to the agency in 2022 as client success director and back in the tourism world and this role.
That's awesome. We spend a lot of time talking about the difference between in-house jobs and agency jobs and just kind of helping familiarize everyone with what the key differences are. Having been on both sides, what would you summarize as being the key differences that people should think about?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference I would say is just the breadth of what you're exposed to. I always recommend to, those who are getting close to ending their college days and trying to figure out what that next steps looks like. I would say start in an agency if an agency interests you in any way, shape, or form, because that's where you're going to be able to try so many different industries, so many different types of roles, and kind of start getting an idea of what you like industry-wise and what type of marketing work you like. It's also, I would say, agencies tend to be a lot busier. There's a lot higher demand. You have several clients. You have a lot of internal needs. It's a chaotic environment. And so it can be harder later in your career to adapt to that if you started on the in-house side, where things can be a little bit more manageable and just point to point, I would say. So lots of differences, obviously, depending on like industry, private versus public. But that's kind of the two biggest ones that come to mind.
Can you walk us through now what your day-to-day looks like in your current role?
Absolutely. Yeah, my day-to-day varies a lot. I do work full-time remotely. A lot of my typical days, I'm on and off Zoom meetings all day with internal teams, with our clients. My role also does a lot of business development in the tourism sector. So looking for new clients, that process is a complicated one. We run under requests for proposals. And so that is a lot of my job. Some days I'll be writing big strategies or writing big responses for those proposals. Other days, again, I'll be meetings back to back all day. I'm talking with clients and teams I do a lot of travel as well, to go visit our clients, to go to conferences and meet with other industry professionals and potential new clients. And then I also do travel for like client strategy kickoffs or pitches. And so if we're invited to pitch against other agencies to potentially win some business, I'll travel a lot for that. So it really depends on what the week looks like, but that's kind of a mix.
So hospitality seems like a really big area that the agency has expanded into and running a lot of different visitation accounts around the country. Can you walk us through kind of that progression and what your role in it has been?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the agency's always had some roots in hospitality and tourism. Abby herself did quite a bit of work in the Mammoth region and the Northern California region prior to starting the agency. So it's kind of a natural fit that we started working with certain clients. I had the opportunity to take on social media for some of our tourism clients. We had North Lake Tahoe we were working with, Visit Carmel, some other beautiful tourism, wonderful places to visit. And so I'd say we started as an agency really supporting kind of on some niche initiatives, things like social media or a one-off campaign. And then eventually over time grew to be able to really run destination organizations from the ground up or hospitality brands. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else has kind of led to that natural progression. The agency, we started by specializing in public relations, but Abby has always really encouraged us to just be open to different disciplines, to the quickly evolving marketing world. And so I think we've been able to grow and support a lot of brands and destinations just by naturally being able to take a lot of that on.
And that goes perfectly into our next question, which is how has social media impacted the progression of what you've offered as an agency?
Yes, I mean, social media has probably been one of the biggest transformational pieces since I've started at the agency a little over a decade now. But social, for the way that we market these travel destinations, we really tap into social media to learn a lot, I will say, is one area we're doing more than we used to. So if we're planning out what type of content we want to serve or what type of campaigns we're putting together, we do look to social to understand what people are interested in and what questions they're asking. That is a big one that we'll kind of mine information out of. But everyone's aware social media evolves so fast. We're constantly trying to evolve and just understand what is trending right now. How are people consuming content on all these platforms? And just leaning into the different types of content we need to. Over the past couple of years, we've really started building TikTok content for a number of our clients, and that's something that wasn't even a thought the years prior to that. So it's a constantly evolving beast. And
would you say TikTok is the biggest platform right now for the tourism industry? Or if it's not, which one would you say it is?
That's a great question. I think it really depends on your audience. TikTok is becoming a major force, especially with Gen Z, the millennial audiences. We've also in the last year seen TikTok really overtake on search results. So people are looking to TikTok as a search engine. That's all kind of transforming how we're bringing it into our accounts. But Instagram, Facebook, some of those older dinosaurs at this point are still really critical to meet some of the older audience segments and just based on what kind of initiative you're doing. So TikTok is important, but we haven't left the others.
Got it. On the topic of search, we've been talking about search engine optimization and the way that it's continued to evolve and change. How would you say you have adopted on TikTok using more of keyword focused strategy and knowing that search is a big piece of it?
Yeah, I think, again, kind of going back to using social media as a listening tool and understanding, hey, if our job is to market Las Vegas as a travel destination, what are people asking for about Las Vegas? What types of viral influencer content can we look to and take inspiration from? So yeah, just really obviously we have a lot of tools and a data team that kind of does the back end mining to find opportunities as well. But I think as TikTok and some of these search engines are evolving, as AI is coming into play with all these platforms, I think it's just making sure you're understanding what people are looking for and trying to serve that up to them.
Can you think of any examples from any of your clients where there have been particular keywords or trends that you guys were able to jump on to get extra exposure?
Absolutely. Yeah. The biggest one that comes to mind from the last year is we work with Explore Murrieta, which is a small travel destination in Southern California. They Every 5 years or so, there is the super bloom phenomenon in that area, if the weather conditions were right and all of that good stuff. So last year, we saw quite a bit of chatter and people looking for information around the super bloom. It wasn't certain whether a super bloom was going to happen, but we decided to take the opportunity. We built out a full campaign for that effort. We hosted a couple of influencers. We created photo presets for your Murrieta super bloom photos, and it really took off over the last year and a half. That has driven the most traffic to their website. So we've just definitely seen some of those real-time opportunities, and when you can activate quickly, react and pivot, that has been really, really successful for us.
Aside from the opportunities it's brought, what challenges have you faced related to hospitality brands?
Yeah, in regards to social media or in general?
Let's do in general, and then if you want to apply it to social too.
Awesome. So I think challenges are usually so unique to the destination. We usually spend some time up front when we're working with hospitality brands or destinations to just get a really good sense. But I'd say one of the things we're seeing a lot as a common thread is kind of that the dealing with over tourism as a theme, or a perceived theme. During the pandemic, a lot of quieter destinations, small towns that have beautiful outdoor access, really ended up getting overrun with visitors and people trying to get away from the city centers. And even though we're now 4 years past 2020, we have a lot of boards that are still really sensitive, and a lot of locals sensitive to not driving too many people to different regions. And so a lot of our work is really around kind of getting the locals and the community to collaborate together, to communicate together, to understand what our common goals look like, and understand that we're not just trying to drive a mass of visitors, but find the right visitors for a destination. So yeah, that has been, I'd say, the biggest for our tourism destinations challenge that we've seen.
In agency, we talk about, or in social media in general, we talk about how multiple layers of approval can very often squash creativity on content, especially being on the agency side where now you have to work with the client and then potentially get sign-offs from inside the organization. How do you guys manage that and keep your content fresh and creative?
Yeah, that is a great question. I will say it works better with some clients than it does others. A lot of that is really contingent on building a strong relationship with the client, building client trust and rapport and systems so that you have those open channels of communication, so that when we have, opportunities or these last minute moment ideas pop up, you have those open communication channels that you can talk them through. They understand what you're asking them for. We have a lot of age gaps as far as a lot of our clients are pertained, and so just kind of trying to explain and walk them through it can sometimes be a challenge. But I'd say identifying which of your clients are going to be open and able to facilitate those quick pivots and quick opportunities, and kind of leaning more in there and recognizing there's some clients in the agency that you're really never going to be able to do some of those quick, cool things that you want to.
And you mentioned building trust. What are some things that you found that work to build trust with your clients and with people you've worked with so that you can do fun things and they're kind of bought into the vision?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Sometimes, it's easy to forget that we're all just people and clients are people on the other side. And as an agency, we're here to support them and to be an extension of them and their brand. And so I really like to make sure that my clients know and feel that I care about their brand and their organization just as much as they do. Making sure that when you're starting a new project with a client, when you're bringing a new client on, you really take that time up front to ask all the questions, to talk everything through, so that the client sees you building that foundation up front, understanding and trying to understand their world, and things aren't a surprise later. But then also being ready, there's always that moment in a client relationship where some stuff hits the fan, where there's an emergency, being ready on that day that the client calls you and says, hey, we've had a big explosion, we need you guys, and getting the team, there and ready to support them in that moment so they see that trust. I think those moments are huge and they're make or break for client relationships, especially in those first couple of years. So I think that building that foundation, investing in that relationship is the only way you're really able to then build some of these really fun, awesome initiatives off of them.
That's really good advice. What would you say, looking back, are some of your favorite things that you've done on social media?
Oh, so many. I would say early influencer era, like back in 2017, 18, when we had a lot of clients very nervous and hesitant to use or partner with influencers at all, we were really able to walk a client through the value and benefit of influencers, understand what some of that content could look like. And then we were able to actually build their whole campaign around bringing influencers into the destination, and some of our hospitality partners. So it was a big success as far as just seeing that authentic story get told through these influencers, but also a success on our end of getting to walk a client through that. Another one of my favorites is a campaign we put together called Tahoe Treasures, up in the Tahoe area. Tahoe gets so overrun in the summer with people heading down to the lake, down to the beach. And then in the winter, the problem's the opposite, overrun with everyone heading up to the mountains for skiing. And so the idea was that there's this whole part of the region that everyone misses in each season. So we built this series of 12 treasures, which were secret, lesser known gems. And we did short form vertical videos. We did printable destination guides for each one. Just a whole series of content. And then we did bring out a few influencers to experience those. So long story, but loved those campaigns. That was a great one in really being able to prove that we got people off the beaten path, and engaged with some of the lesser known things.
Love that. Who would you say has been your favorite client that you've worked with so far?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say I have had the opportunity the last year to work with Carnival Cruise Line, and we manage their blog, we lead all of their content initiatives. That has been a huge honor just to have visibility into an organization of that size and represent our work for them. But we've had a lot of incredible clients over the years, so that one just jumps out.
I love that. What advice, college students are watching, what advice would you give to them as they finish up school?
Yeah, I would say stay focused. It's that last year is very distracting and lots going on, a lot of places that your energy is going to get pulled, but stay focused on ultimately what's your goal out of wrapping up your college years, but also start looking at that last year as a transitional phase. I have younger siblings. I've done some mentorship. I try to give the advice of make sure you have done at least one internship by the end of your summer heading into your senior year. It really just helps to soften that blow of what does this feel like out of the college walls, out in the real world, and help make that bridge, whatever it looks like after you graduate, a little bit easier to navigate.
And to finish up, you've been in so many different positions and have grown in the agency and in other places too. What do you think you've done that has helped you progress your career?
Yeah, I think it sounds cheesy, but just always be open to new things and not saying no to things. Yeah, early on, I started as social media, and I really I put quotes around that because I was also at that time working in SEO and a little bit of paid media, and you know, there's got to be some levels of constraints. You don't want to burn yourself out and take on too much, but I think especially those first 3 to 5 years of your career, just be hungry and say yes to everything that excites you and feel it out.
Wonderful advice. Well, Allegra, thank you again so much for chatting with us. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop the recording.